As fate would have it, this happened sometime in 2008 when there was a global market crash and the business never really took off for this particular private bank, and I was jobless. Extremely difficult to get an auditor's license in the UAE today. Months and the year to come or so, we will see that there's going to be a lot of shake-up in the market in auditing business itself, where probably we'll see a lot of players moving out.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Finance Story Daily, where we bring you insights, trends, and stories to enable you make better decisions. So, there's a lot of curiosity amongst firms in India on what opportunities Dubai and GCC as a whole have, and how can they collaborate to tap onto these opportunities. At the same time, several folks in Dubai are also looking at starting their own. So, to help us understand the opportunities, we have with us Dinesh Singh, who's a founder of Quantum Consulting and Quantum Auditing. He's also a partner at a CA firm in Hyderabad.
Thank you, Chantal, for having me on your platform. Basically, in terms of how did I start my journey, it's a long, short story. Allow me to please speak on this. During my formative years, in fact, one of the novels I was reading by Jeffrey Archer, Cain and Abel, that fascinated me so much to the extent that I decided to be a banker in my life. And during the course of pursuing my graduation, I kind of was fascinated by the corporate law and the auditing norms and rules. That is when I made up my mind to pursue chartered accountancy as my career. And before I could actually qualify, the last leg of my exams was still due to be passed. And that's when I got an offer from a multinational bank in India to head their auto loans division. It is an indirect business for that particular bank. So, meaning they would not do those sales for auto loans directly, they would utilize the services of a direct sales associate or franchisees as they are called. So I joined up with them, and then subsequently I qualified my exams while continuing as a franchisee. And I was doing both, in fact. So I was doing banking on one part and practicing my accountancy profession also on the side. So I was kind of living my dream.
Amazing, cool. So that's amazing. So Dinesh, can you tell me how did Dubai happen, and how did you start your career over here?
In fact, while I was working with this multinational bank in India, we were operating at an IRR, or the effective rate of interest, which was crossing 22% at that point in time during the course of my career with them, in fact. And around the late 90s, early 2000 or so, a few competitive banks started offering something in the range of 14 to 16%. That particular rate, we could not match. So our market share started declining kind of abruptly. So I had an option to join up with a competitor and sell car loans at say 12-14% or so, or maintain my professional dignity and not continue in that particular business at all. Now, around that time, I got a call from a head of wealth management from a UAE nationalized bank, who was an ex-banker of that Indian multinational bank, in fact, asking me if I would like to join his wealth management team. And I was quite happy about that. Plus, also, looking forward to international exposure, while not forgetting that I am, by qualification, a chartered accountant. And joined up with this particular wealth management team. And I'm told by the bank that the revenue that I generated in a single month, within 3 months of me joining, was the highest ever achieved by the bank since it launched its wealth management business in the UAE. Mm-hmm. So that's one success breeds success, as we say. So that led to me getting calls from a couple of private banks from the DIFC. And I was quite happy at first, the salary, etc., to jump from this bank to a multinational. This happened sometime in 2008, late 2008. When there was a global market crash and the business never really took off for this particular private bank. And I was jobless, end of the day. After having a great run throughout till this point in time, I suddenly became jobless. So I had an option to wait, keep looking out for jobs, etc., or look at getting back to the core of my competencies, basically, which is chartered accountancy or practicing in accountancy, basically. That's when I decided that I'd rather not join any organization as an employee, but plunge into my self-employment journey. Yes. So that's when I started actually quantum consulting. I was in fact open to doing accounting or etc., including wealth management advisory services. But it so happened that most of my clients ended up being clients looking for support in their accounting systems, internal control, management accounting reports, and things like that.
Yeah.
That in fact was a great kind of a blessing for me, because it took me back to my roots of how I actually got trained for my chartered accountancy. Now, Quantum Consulting was not an approved auditing firm by the Ministry of Economy UAE. So they have their criteria before they would approve someone as a signing auditor or grant you an auditor's license primarily. 2000, end of 2009, early 2010, I started preparing myself to approach the ministry for the license. It took me, say, about 11 months plus to assimilate and accumulate all the papers, etc. I made an attempt to get the license from the ministry. And courtesy my 16 years experience overall, including 5 years in the UAE, I was lucky to have received the license at that point in time. That is when we set up quantum auditing in 2011. When you are a qualified accountant, and particularly if you are a fellow member, meaning fellow membership is granted to you by an institute globally if you are a 5-year experience practicing accountant. And if you are a fellow member of the institute and you have a local experience here, then the ministry would consider you granting a license. Else it is kind of next to impossible. So I had all the credentials behind me. And the ministry approved my application to be a licensed auditor here. That's how it works here, unlike other countries.
How the initial years starting off, and now with with UAE in the limelight, business is growing. How has the firm evolved, and what next? How are you looking at growing up your organization?
Yeah, in fact, as most businesses face initial hiccups, etc., Chantal, is something which quantum auditing also faced in the initial years.
Yeah.
And then, when an opportunity was there in terms of providing services to free zone businesses as such, we capitalized on those opportunities. And then the VAT law was announced in 2017, became effective on the 1st of January 2018. That was an opportunity, or rather a new opportunity for us. So we are listed auditors or approved auditors again with every free zone across the UAE. So we have clients where we do the annual audit and assurance compliances every year, and also do or help them conduct a VAT periodic audit on a quarterly basis and help them file their VAT returns on a quarter-on-quarter basis. That is number two. This opportunity was not there. This is how the firm evolved, in fact. We didn't have this opportunity way back in 2011, 12, 13 or so. It happened in 2017. Now, when VAT was introduced in this part of the world, in the GCC, let's say along with Saudi Arabia, for example. Kingdom of Bahrain also introduced sometime in the year 2019. The immediate strategic decision for us was to expand our presence from being in UAE to other GCC countries.
Yeah.
So we set up a branch of our company, Dubai-based quantum auditing in Bahrain. So there again, VAT being a compliance requirement, auditing is mandatory in Bahrain for every business, literally every business. Unlike, there's no differentiation like mainland or non-mainland as such in Bahrain. That's a huge opportunity, or was an opportunity for us. We expanded into Bahrain in 2019, and 2020 or so we got our license. In fact, because the opportunities increased, the operations in Bahrain for quantum auditing have been able to match the revenues of quantum, or rather which quantum achieved over, say, 6, 7, 8 years or so. Bahrain has been able to manage in just 2 years. How the market is evolved, that is a requirement of professionals like us. And that's where you provide your services and you grow your business. And again, on this note, Chantal, the government of Bahrain has taken a decision, which has to be formalized, I suppose, very soon now, that they are going to be imposing corporate tax similar to how we have in the UAE. The rates could be higher or lower, we don't know. But if you look at the VAT rates in Bahrain, though UAE is operating at 5%, Bahrain is at 10%. KSA happens to be at 15%. So it's all about compliance requirements. And if I know how to comply as a business, approaching, for example, a trustworthy financial consultant, be it an auditor or be it a plain simple financial consultant specializing in taxes, for example, opportunities are huge.
How big is the opportunity for auditing in the UAE? Okay, we know it's big in India, we know it's big in a lot of other countries. How big it is in the UAE?
See, it's a very interesting question, in fact, and the opportunities are huge. Now, let me, in fact, mention to you quantum auditing story when we started off in 2011.
Yeah.
At that point in time, there were the legal compliance requirements or submission of audited financial statements as such was not really a mandatory requirement, particularly in mainland for mainland entities in the UAE. It was applicable for a lot of free zones, of course, where you would submit your client has to submit audit report to get his annual license renewed.
Yeah.
At that point of time in 2011-12, there were no taxes at all. I mean, there was no VAT also for that matter. So And so look, I will comply if there's a compliance requirement. If there's no requirement, then I'm not too. Most businesses, in fact, unfortunately, I would say, are not too concerned about how their bottom line is and how their top line is performing, sort of thing, things like that. So, but at the same time, there are certain. I have always been, in fact, a few mature businesses and business owners who are too concerned about how they're performing in their business.
Yep.
That's when, in fact, quantum consulting also played a role initially, and quantum auditing also did. Now, subsequently, or rather, at that point of time itself, we knew that the time would come in the UAE when there would be taxes. It took some time. In fact, I guess I probably spent about 7 years before I could get into indirect taxes practice, which is VAT in the UAE, and almost 11 years since the UAE corporate tax has been announced now. So, coming to your question, the opportunities are huge. What was available then has evolved so much today that you need audit reports across all free zones, in fact. And courtesy the UAE corporate tax law, you need an audit report if your turnover happens to be equal to or over 50 million dirhams per year. You need to necessarily submit your audit report. And you can envisage as to how good and how big, how large the opportunity is.
Okay, so you mean to say the opportunity is growing for auditing compliance kind of services? It's increasing, and you believe it's going to increase a lot more in future, creating a need for services like this.
Certainly, yes. There are reasons for this. In fact, as I said, UAE as a country has been working very hard to be as compliance friendly as developed economies are. So the processes have changed. The government has become more strict over the recent years, and there are a lot of compliance requirements now which are kind of imposed on various businesses operating here. At the same time, keeping in mind how the ease of doing business opportunity that we have in the UAE, most of the global companies are wanting to establish their presence in the UAE for various reasons. Despite the fact that recently the government has also introduced a 9% corporate tax, it still makes sense when you trade off, a particular jurisdiction vis-a-vis UAE. It makes a lot of sense to have your presence in the UAE.
Yeah.
So businesses are new additional incremental businesses are happening. Compliance requirements are becoming stricter. So I think every business should necessarily have a financial consultant to advise him and to ensure that they are compliant.
Okay, that's amazing. And what is the next service line that does well? So there's auditing, there's tax, there's finance consulting, then there's also bookkeeping. So what is the service? So if somebody wants to start their firm or their consulting, like what should they focus on? So in India, if you want to start a CA firm, you'll do audit. There is or assurance. So what's over here?
No, in fact, it is. See, if you look at, I'll give you my own business example, Chantal.
Yeah.
Revenues from auditing are in the range of, let's say, 40-45%. The differential 60-65% revenue come from consulting business. Now, what do we mean when we say consulting vis-a-vis auditing? Auditing is a mandatory or a statutory requirement where you get your workforce audited annually and submit to the relevant authorities to ensure that you're doing what is required to be done. When it comes to, say, for example, consulting, or I'd rather answer your question in a different way also. I, as a new consultant entrant in the UAE, for example, I wish to set up my business. Now, getting an auditing license and the procedure has changed for that also. It is, again, extremely difficult to get an auditor's license in the UAE today. In fact, in the months and the year to come or so, we will see that there's going to be a lot of shake-up in the market, in auditing business itself, where probably we'll see a lot of players moving out. The reason being that now we have an Emirates Authority of Auditing and Accounting as a governing body here. And the government has made it mandatory that any practicing chartered accountant here should obtain a fellowship. If you're not already an FCA or a fellow chartered accountant, you need to apply to this institute, prepare for the exams, write those exams, pass those exams, have the FCA. Otherwise, if you're already a practicing CA also here, then your name may be delisted from the approved auditors list. Now, that means that if there are lesser number of firms, then there is more of an opportunity for firms who are surviving these new requirements here. So that is one aspect. Now, with the UAE corporate tax coming in, I would say that yes, the opportunity for auditors would increase from say 40-45% to something like 60-65% or so. Plus, what do we have? As a financial consultant, and as I said, because of the compliance requirements increasing day by day, now we have to report the authorities on something which is called as the economic substance regulations. Meaning again that the government just doesn't want someone to come to the UAE, set up an office, take a virtual office, have a visa, and have a holiday here. You
Yeah.
need to prove that you are actually in business. Now there is a legal requirement where biannually, at 6 months' time, you file a notification, and based on your nature of business and a couple of other criteria and parameters, you need to even file an economic substance return or report end of the financial year. That is an opportunity for practicing consultants where you need not be an auditing firm. It's a huge opportunity there. Number two is in terms of the way our government is clamping down on the money laundering aspect.
Yeah.
Again, the laws are extremely, extremely strict here, where there are inspections being conducted regularly, in fact, on business which are defined as designated non-banking finance companies, which includes auditors, includes jewelry business, includes real estate, etc. That again is a compliance requirement, mandatory requirement where consultants can play a huge role. And now again, coming to who are the ultimate beneficial owners of your business, there is a reporting requirement to be done at least once a year, or and report to the government if there's any change in who the ultimate beneficial owner of your business is. Meaning that the government is particular that your business entity or the structure of your organization is absolutely transparent. Now, I assume if I'm a businessman, I'm into trading business, or if I'm into any nature of business, I would be more concerned about running my day-to-day operations. I would not really know as to how exactly to report on economic substances or on UBA requirements or how to really comply with the anti-money laundering requirements of the government of UAE. That is where consultants can play a huge role, which will benefit the businesses, number one, and it will also benefit and strengthen the government of the country.
Amazing. So the opportunities are huge in the UAE as well as Bahrain. Many people don't consider Bahrain, but you're saying they should even look at that. Or since it's a
I
very
would
small
say,
place.
yeah, I would say UAE, Bahrain, Oman, and Saudi Arabia. These are the GCC countries one should look at if you have the bandwidth. Now, if you were to ask me why am I not in KSA, well,
Yeah.
honestly, I don't really have that kind of bandwidth to have to manage multiple locations. I may say that I'm actually happy with these two jurisdictions as of now. Maybe next year we'll see something in terms of expanding to, like for example, Oman or KSA also.
Okay. So when you talk about expansion, you need an office there. It's a very expanding overseas is an expensive process. You need office, you need team, you need a lot of upfront. So do you collaborate with others who are already, say, maybe in India, a large organization who wants to move here, a large firm? How does it work?
See, any new region, for that matter, Chantel, would throw up new challenges.
Yeah.
Now, I may say I'm a chartered accountant, say from India, but then when I landed in the UAE, I had to start learning again from the scratch
Yeah.
about how the law works in a particular region. For example, the laws, the way they work in the UAE are slightly different from the way they work in Bahrain, for example. So I'm sure it would be a bit different as far as the KSA formalities etc. are concerned. Would I encourage someone to set up their offices
Yeah.
here as a financial consultant? That is a question, for example. As I said, yeah, opportunities are huge, but there are a lot of players already operating in this market. This happened, or rather, the influx from consulting firms from India primarily to the UAE happened in 2017 and 18 when VAT was introduced,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Now, the question is, do you have it in you to survive? Why? Because if there are established firms already in the market, this profession runs purely on faith and trust. If the client has faith and trust in you, he will work with you and he will appoint you as an auditor or financial consultant. If you are looking at giving a one-time advice to someone, then that will never work. You have to think in terms of long term. So now that is number one. Two is, how do you really want to position yourself in the market? Why should one come to a new entrant in the market vis-a-vis, say, an established player or players in the market? That again depends on your business strategy or marketing strategy as such. I would advise any of the prospective consulting firms who are wanting to come to this part of the world to do their arithmetic first. Have a minimum of 6 months to 1 year of working capital, assuming that they may not really strike big clients. But that is very important. Two, in terms of manpower or workforce, we need people who have the competence to understand or migrate from law to law between jurisdictions. There, I have seen that one can claim I'm a qualified professional from my country. That doesn't
Yeah.
really work. Laws would be different, the interpretations would be different, applicability would be different, and how you go about it is also going to be different. It's not a difficult proposition, but one needs to take that up very, very seriously too. And see, getting from 0 to 1 is the most difficult proposition in terms of my own experience. As you may be trying to get a client, for example, or when your revenues are 0, but you want to move from 0 to 1, that period or that transition period is the toughest. Once you are there, going from 1 to 10 is not really a very big deal. Reason also for that is particularly in professional services companies like ours, most new businesses happen, let's say references only. One happy client will give you one more and he will give you 10 more. That's how it works. It's like he's there, don't worry. It will take time for any new consulting firm to establish themselves as a successful operation in this part of the world. That is a sincere advice from my side. If you are in a mad rush thinking, oh, there's a UAE CT also, VAT is there, and etc., it doesn't work like that. You may want to succeed faster. You might want to move very fast. The environment here would not allow you to succeed at the rate at which you may want to be successful.
Is the opportunity for bookkeeping outsourcing services huge also in the GCC region? We know it's big in the US, it's big in the UK, yes, but also in the GCC or say UAE. Is it expanding? It's growing bigger, and if yes, why?
Answer is yes and no, both in fact, Chantal. Yeah, see, in terms if your operations are large in the UAE, and you just may not need one accountant, for example, but you need an accounts assistant and a financial controller, a finance manager, and a CFO. Then the cost for these organizations or bigger organizations in this part of the world, like anywhere else, would be huge.
Yeah.
If I want to cut down on those costs and rather have an outsourced CFO, for example, or an outsourced financial controller, but I'll have my data entry guy sitting here and doing the work. I'll be able to minimize on my staff cost, and at the same time, end of the day, have what I need to have on my table as a business owner.
Yeah.
So again, depends on how many businesses would be comfortable in outsourcing, because it matter is also of sharing confidential information, security of the data, etc. All such things put together. There is business. Now, if I were to draw an example between UAE and Bahrain, in Bahrain it is more prevalent that even small businesses, they are outsourcing their accounting and bookkeeping to firms like an accounting firm. UAE is a bit different. UAE is more like closed kind of a structure where we have in-house finance professionals working. Compared to Bahrain, it is lesser here. But Bahrain, the opportunity for outsourcing is huge.
Wow.
Accounting and bookkeeping. But we're again talking about firms looking at doing something more, something bigger. Then there are opportunities definitely in the areas of business valuations, in the areas of advising on mergers and acquisitions, etc., in the areas of identifying prospective investors, whether they be based any part of the world, and there are a lot of investors in India who are looking at investing abroad.
Yeah.
So where if you have this kind of a competency where you can look at a particular business, do their valuation, do the extrapolation of their finance for the next 5-10 years or so, the best business value which a business can command, and then look at investors, close a deal. That is where the actual core of the next level of accounting lies, I should say. So that is one area where I think every finance professional, besides auditing, should rather look at these opportunities and expand, rather than looking at just being an auditor, signing balance sheets and all that.
How is the GCC market, over the years, how has it evolved? If you could just give a little bit on the macroeconomic factors that has impacted its growth, okay? And what potential do you envision? Is it going to be? I'm sure it is sustainable because they have a plan in place, right? So, from your experience, whatever you want to share.
Markets are evolving, as we said. This region is poised to grow at rates unheard of before. That is for sure. If you look at UAE predictions also and the budgets also for that matter, I don't think the government ever really spoke about 5+% percentage of growth year-on-year basis, which is going to happen starting to 2024. We can say the same or maybe a bit more about KSA because of the way the country is growing. Opportunities which is presenting to investors, to practitioners, etc., is huge. Now, more important is how the markets have evolved over a period of years. Now, like if you look at last 10 years, it was not the same. In fact, the growth started happening sometime around 2005, 2006. If you look at UAE, Dubai, for example, you see the fruits of that particular labor today. The way the government has set up its policies, the way the government has opened up its economy, where it is not necessarily mandatory today that you need to have 100% UAE national also as your shareholder, even if you're not in a free zone. That means it's giving you a lot of independence to set up your business and operate from this part of the world. Every new business, I believe, should contribute to itself, should contribute to the growth of the nation, should contribute to the GDP of the country. Now, SMEs in UAE, as in many regions for that matter, 90% plus entities operating in the UAE are SMEs. Their contribution to the country's GDP is more than 60%, which is again huge. Countries, rather the region is evolving. There is a growth in the competency levels of people also who are operating from here, be it nationals or be it foreigners or expatriates who are working here. Expectations are on the rise. It is not like everything is fine. It is not. Everyone is thriving to be the best in their own field.
Yeah.
So that is where, for example, if I want to be the best, assume that if I'm not very good at, let's say, a business valuation exercise, I would seek the help of a professional who probably knows or that has done more work than me. So when the markets are growing, when the business are growing, etc., then there is more. There's an opportunity for everyone. There's a give and take. For a business to survive and do well, it probably will need the help of a professional. But the professionals to do well, they will obviously need more such businesses to come to them to seek help. So what the situation was, say, 8-10 years back or so, is a bit different today. Be it KSA, be it UAE for that matter. Bahrain is next in line. Oman is doing very well. Qatar is again doing very well. There is no VAT in Qatar as of date. Opportunities are huge. So as I said again, you need to do your mathematics, arithmetic, do your calculations for cost. Look at how long will you be able to survive if things were not going to go well as you envisage. After a period of time, if you give yourself say a year or so exploring the market and trying to reach out to clients and have them as clients to your new clients to your book as such, then future would be good, fine. Initially, you will have to work hard. How do you position yourself? Again, see, I am repeating myself. I know you have to create it for yourself. Why should one go to you rather than anybody else? So that is the most important question which a business owner, a professional must answer as to what he can do. The professionalism, to timeliness, to ensure that he's actually delivering what is expected. And like I may not be sounding very positive or something in terms of, for example, advising new businesses to come really set up their business here or so. I'm not saying no, but what I'm saying is only that don't be in a rush, don't be in a hurry to be successful. Professional capabilities as such, do make an attempt. Or if you were to be doing your calculations and mathematics as such, you collaborate with someone who's already here. I will do my own math. I'll collaborate with someone who's sitting in India. So again, they are gaining and I am gaining for that matter. So just because there is UAE VAT and there is, which happened in 2017 and 18, a lot of consulting firms came, they set up as freelancers here. They ran away in 6 months back to India, creating a very bad name for professionals primarily in this, in this. Now today we say UAE corporate tax, everybody wants to come here. It doesn't work. It doesn't work like that at all. So I have often repeated, mentioned this, that professionals in accounting, for that matter, financial consultants, auditors, etc., are like financial doctors. And again, then there are good doctors and there are bad doctors. So, if I run into a bad doctor, then I'll have to run for a second opinion to someone. We should try as professionals to avoid that kind of a situation and be the best in our field. So yes, my concluding remarks in terms of whether I should foray into UAE and shall I make an attempt there, more than welcome. But give yourself time. Don't come with a team of 10. Have a team of 1 or 2 initially. Get your first business first. Let it multiply to 4 and then grow your team.
What are the opportunities in Oman? Like you mentioned that there's a lot of opportunities in Oman.
But opportunities in Oman would be similar to what we have in Bahrain, I believe. Because again, there you have strict enforcement of laws in terms of your annual audit reports. And then there is VAT. I'm not sure about corporate tax in Oman as of now. But vis-a-vis Oman, I would say if somebody really wants to explore as a professional practitioner or as an employee, Saudi Arabia probably will make more of sense in terms of the size of the market and opportunities in KSA today vis-a-vis Oman. Oman is comparatively smaller. KSA again vis-a-vis Bahrain, I would still recommend Saudi Arabia itself. But any of these countries, I will not name any negative countries where I may not want to be. But these countries which I have named earlier, there is an opportunity for everyone. Now again, as a businessman or as a professional owning a business and wanting to come here, there is a cost associated. What is the cost of doing business in Dubai versus Bahrain versus Oman, for example?
Yeah.
Let me mention to you, the cost of doing business in Bahrain is higher than what it is for me personally in UAE. But the cost of living for executives working for Quantum in Bahrain is low. In Dubai, the cost of living is much higher. Cost of doing business may be a bit lower. So you have to take into factor all these things. And as I said, if you want to be in this profession as a practitioner, be prepared for with at least a year's working capital. And be patient again. As an employee, if you were to get an opportunity in the UAE or Bahrain or Oman or KSA, if I am a prospective employee, I would grab wherever I would get an opportunity. Opportunities are, the platform would be the same, I would say. The requirement again in terms of how competent I should be will not vary region to region as far as these regions are concerned, these countries are concerned.
Amazing. So well explained. Dinesh, I have this one question for you. So if you talk about cost of starting in the UAE, okay. So if I want to start in the UAE, okay, what is the approximate, like, how much of money should one have? What is the budget should? I know it will vary, but a benchmark.
See, in terms of initial setup cost itself, Santa, if I'm setting up a professional consulting firm, see, there are a lot of factors. The certain questions cannot really be answered like without considering a few other factors. For example, I want to set up a financial consulting firm in UAE. I will not set it up. When somebody who's an advisor to them would say, "Oh, please set up in Sharjah free zone, or Ajman free zone, or Fujairah free zone, or a DMCC in Dubai." Or not in DMCC, but let's say in Ifza or Medan free zone, the cost varies. Every free zone, the free zone is of repute, the higher is it. If you keep aside DIFC, DMCC, I suppose, is the most expensive today, followed by Ifza and Medan, for example. Cost is much lower in Sharjah free zone and Ajman free zone, for example. So, say an average cost, if I take the annual licensing cost or initial setup cost in the first year, in IFZA or Medan would cost me approximately, all put together, including my initial visa, Emirates ID, etc., put together, would cost me in the range of 20 to 25,000 dirhams. The same cost comes down to in the range of 5,000 to 8,000 bucks in Sharjah or in Ajman for that matter. But keeping in mind the kind of work that I'm wanting to do as a professional, personally for me, branding is very important. Oh, he has a consulting firm in a free zone somewhere in X Emirate. Vis-a-vis why Emirate makes a lot of difference in terms of the client's perception. As I said, client perception is very important. He trusts you, he has faith in you, he values you, he'll give business to you. If you're operating from like a virtual office sitting in a corner, wanting to present yourself as a professional, then it will not really work. So somebody just wants to have a presence, I'll try out, I'll take a X free zone license at only 5,000-7,000 per year or so. Try out versus a branded presence where you are actually presenting yourself as a person who's serious about his own business.
Yeah.
I'm not running down any emirate. I'm not running down any free zone at all. With whom are you dealing? See, setting up of a company would take maximum 2 days to 3 days these days. The challenges start after that, after you've set up your business. So from where are you operating? How do you want to operate? How do you want to project yourself? Is very important. So again, if we were to leave this decision and the choice to our clients as to wherever they may want to set up, I would tell them the least cost free zone, for example, would be so and so. Spend 5,000, 7,000, then you have your license, start working, and then you grow. Down the line tomorrow, you might want to shift from that particular free zone, or rather have another branch, say in Dubai. A much expensive proposition. But be prepared for something in the range of 20 to 25,000 dirhams as the initial setup cost, all inclusive, your medicals and your visas, etc., all put together. Amazing. That would be subsequent years. You might spend in the range of 70-75% only of your initial cost, because again, visa would be valid for 2 years, etc. License renewal only annual basis. You have to spend 10, 12, 15,000 as the case may be. Or in fact, particularly mainland requires that you cannot have a virtual office. You must provide them with a lease agreement of a proper physical office, which will be inspected. It is going to add to your cost. Where do I want? I just want to be in the UAE. I have a license. I have a visa. I will work from home. I'll not say no to that. And as I said again, going back to my earlier advice, okay, work from home, have a virtual license, spend only 5,000 for your license. Get client number 1, get client number 4, 5, 6, and then you expand. You'll get to a physical office.
what next for quantum consulting auditing and you mentioned your closing remarks, so what next?
See, yeah, this is quite interesting. In fact, Chantal, my association with my India from my home country, as I said, with Commodore and Company Chartered, it is one of the best firms I have, or the best set of professionals I've met in my professional career in the recent past. My objective is to utilize our competencies that we have together. The competencies of quantum in UAE, the competencies of quantum in Bahrain, matched with and complemented and supplement with the competencies which my team has in India. And as I said, the market is so huge here. Besides the usual functions of auditing, we or quantum would want to certainly look at opportunities in the areas of mergers and acquisitions, more of business valuations, more of deals, structuring, etc. And not limit ourselves to a particular region. I might have my head office, for example, or I'll say my headquarters is based in Dubai with my 25 offices in India, for example. We want to look at a client who is in need of our services across GCC and beyond. Let me share with you, Chantal, that we are in the process of setting up a financial consulting firm here. The firm has already been set up in India. We have named the firm as Commodore Quantum Financial Solutions. We will be setting up a subsidiary of that India-based company in Dubai in the month of March itself. So anything and everything that I can do under the umbrella of an auditing firm, quantum auditing will continue to do that.
Amazing.
Anything which is beyond auditing, beyond the basic auditing, etc., or assurance services, we would want to explore the market under the umbrella of Quantum Commando Financial Solutions, which includes varied services that we intend to provide. It includes jurisdictions which are beyond UAE, which are beyond GCC, in fact. And there is so much of traction and there is so much of movement already that we just spoken to a couple of guys across the UK and the US.
You started your entrepreneurial journey in 2008, 2009, right? So would you advise others also to do the same? What's your take? How would someone decide? Lastly, is like, what next for quantum? What are you looking at next? So,
see, should one really start, rather venture out in this part of? The answer is definitely yes only. It will never be no, really. Now I will give you a kind of a sad example. Sad example is there are qualified chartered accountants in India, as you know, qualified sometime in let's say 4-5 years back or so. They ventured into practice straight away in India. I'm talking about, I will even name the regions also. These are primarily based in Ahmedabad and also based in Mumbai. Now, I have CVs from these firm owners also looking for a job opportunity here, meaning they are willing to close their practice in India, relocate from India to a country like UAE, for example, and work here. There must be a reason for that. The reason being that you have not been able to reach out to your prospective clients and establish your value in their eyes to be able to get businesses. We have multiple firms operating in UAE, maybe in the range of 500 plus practicing firms today. India is huge, so they are running into lakhs. So you will run into competition everywhere for that matter. How do you beat it? Now, price undercutting is a huge issue here. It is an issue in India also, for that matter. I'll give you another example. UAE corporate tax registrations have just commenced on the 1st of March this year. So there is a lot of traction movement in the market. Your fine is 10,000 dirhams. That's what they start with. That's the pitch. If you don't raise a fine is 10,000. Fine is 10,000 provided you do not do a few things in life. That is one. Now you don't scare me saying I have to pay 10,000 fine, but the registration cost is very less. So for someone whom we know in the market, because we keep a close eye on our competition here. 99 dirhams only for your UACT registration. 99 dirhams. You pay them 99, they register you on the portal of FTA. Somebody else says 199 dirhams for registration.
I've seen that.
You may have seen that. Now there are a few firms who have mentioned 1,500 as the registration cost. So there is a huge difference. Now, what exactly is happening? Client who's only looking at saving money by paying you 99 or 199 will not really go to, he's not looking at saving money. He's looking at being compliant. He's looking at being in safe hands. So these big firms, they must have a reason to say, sir, my fees is 1,500 for UACT registration. I'm very sure, Chantal, any of these such firms' clients who are quoting 1,500, including quantum auditing, our clients will not go anywhere. They will remain with us only for Various reasons. Should I venture? Don't venture into another part of the world just to venture. Have a business plan, establish your professionalism, win the faith and the trust of your clients, make a name for yourself, have a moral code of conduct. I would say necessarily so. In fact, here in the UAE, because let me give you another fact of the matter. In India, chartered accountants practice particularly is governed by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. Now, where ICAI had a few lapses during the course of last say 5-6 years or so, the
Yeah.
government imposed one more authority over ICAI to as an oversight,
Yeah.
which is your National Financial Reporting Authority, which keeps an eye
Yeah.
on ICAI itself. We are governed there when we have to be extremely careful. Now,
Yeah.
here in the UAE, we do not have any such body which governs as to what we do. I mean, there is a law, there is an auditor's law, which writes basically what the law says wherever in part of the. But is there a mechanism to ensure that it is implemented, or are you really checking that this practicing so-called professionals are practicing the moral code of conduct, ethics, integrity, etc.? It's not there. So, if you are a true professional, I would advise that you please impose this self-monitoring moral code of conduct on yourself. This
Yeah.
is very important in the long run if you want to really be successful and survive in the business. You want to be here, go back to your home country tomorrow is a different story altogether. So, coming to your question, should I venture? More than welcome. There is a huge opportunity. Have a business plan, decide as to how you wish to proceed. At the same time, don't experiment with your client and or on your client. Be sure about what is expected of you as a professional. I mean, your client will not necessarily see as to whether you're a 5-year-old experienced guy or a 10-year or less than that. This is what is expected. What is expected by the client, what is expected by the government of the country. These two things, and as long as you remain ethical and committed to your profession, you will not fail.